What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe.
Desmond Ridder was 13 of 21 for 168, one score, two interceptions, had a QBR of 35, a quarterback rating of 63, and you lost by 9.
Yeah. If Frosty were to go into Dennis Allen's office and sit on the chair, he would turn to steam immediately, or he should at least. I love how Mike Triplett started his piece on New Orleans on Football. Quote, if there's been a more spectacular red zone collapse in NFL history than what happened to the Saints in Week 12 against Atlanta, I'm going to need to see that tape. And he mentions to go on, the Saints reached the Falcons 35 in each of their final 8 possessions, 5 trips to the red zone, 444 total yards, not a single touchdown. On those 8 trips, you had 2 turnovers, including a pick 6 and a fumble after a big 10-yard first down. You had 4 penalties, 2 holding calls on Ryan Ramczyk, an OPI on Juwan Johnson, a false start on Cesar Ruiz. You had when A.T. Perry thought he was going to get flagged, so he just stopped running the route, which I hated to begin with. Why we're running a fade to A.T. Perry on 3rd and goal? It is so scared and weak. And then Blake Grupe made like 17 field goals before he finally missed the last one. And you know what? And then I hate Dennis. Here's Dennis Allen's one of his answers in the red zone. I think that his answers are garbage. Quote, if you're able to move the ball, that's obviously a positive, right? So you feel like, well, we should be able to move the ball down there in the red area. I felt like we did move the ball down there in the red area. But again, when it's going to be 2nd and 3, then all of a sudden you're looking at 1st and 20. It's a totally different ball game. So that's kind of where I attribute it to.
Yeah, that's an awful answer. That's a terrible answer. No, that's you have to be better. Like, you have to do something. Like, even if it's like 50%, it's like, okay, well, maybe we can talk through it. You weren't 50%. Like, you didn't score a touchdown. We can't have that conversation.
No.
Like, moving the ball is one thing, but that's not the object of the game. The object of the game is to score points and to score touchdowns.
Interesting.
And once you get into that red area, it's 6 points, not 3 points. So, no, that's an awful answer. And that answer lines up with what you do in the red zone, which is throw a fade for no reason. Nobody loves a no-reason fade more than Derek Carr and the Saints. Just automatically ball snapped, good coverage, doesn't matter, let me throw a fade. And a fade that's not really ever a good throw. A lot of times a fade that lands out of bounds. And the great Peyton Manning used to tell us this all the time in practice. Never in the history of football has a pass been completed out of bounds. And I think he needs to call Derek Carr and tell him that as well. So, no, that's a loser's answer right there.
I mean, you tell me an uber important 3rd and goal. Like, I don't care that A.T. Perry stopped his route. In what world, when you have the weapons that you do, is the immediate read to throw a fade to the rookie wide receiver who's barely played on 3rd and goal the answer? Like, bad execution, yes. Awful in concept as well. So you're bad on both levels. Tight.
And like the things that we were talking about leading into this game, because we had multiple weeks to talk about it, we're like, hey, the Falcons, they're not using Bijan Robinson at all. Well, he had 16 for 91 and a score. He had 3 more for 32 and a score. We're like, hey, Drake London, they took that guy in the top 10. They don't even use him. 5 for 91, 18.2 yards per catch. Cordell Patterson, we talked about him. Remember last week? I think that was all fair. Yeah. We were talking about him. He had 8 for 43. So, like, the things that the Falcons haven't been using, well, they used them, and they worked well for them in this game against the Saints.
Yeah, so I like the announcer's spin zone, too. They were like, they just want to make sure Bijan's good for the final push. Like, okay, sure, yeah. That's what's been going on. No.
Because
we haven't even talked about the defense.
A 4-6 football team saves their top 10 pick for the final push.
They want to make sure he's fresh for the end of the year.
Sometimes announcers, I wish we could just.
I just think that I think that Arthur Smith is better than Pete Carmichael, but also not the best. when it comes.
We saw the chart.
Yeah,
there's
offensive
Pete Carmichael,
coordinator.
who's the worst.
Yes.
Arthur Smith somewhere close to him, but just not the worst.
So it's, I mean, Pete Carmichael is as much of an outlier on the bad as Jaden Daniels is good. Like even Matt House is at the bottom, but he's not out there on an island alone. Pete Carmichael offensively is. And I want the Saints to lose. I don't want the Saints to lose. Winning is always fun. I would love for the Saints to end up with a first-round quarterback. And call me prisoner of the moment. And obviously my fan allegiances and biases are at play here. But even the Cannon was saying this at Thanksgiving. Get Jaden Daniels. Let him sit for a year, a la Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes. Kick Derek Carr's ass out of town. And then give the keys to JD5. Let's go, boys.
I would be completely on board
with
all of that. Derek Carr in this game graded out at 52.5%. One of the worst graded quarterbacks in the NFL. He was, let's see. Yeah, he was 49% on pass attempts. So I guess he got some points, bumped up there for like a rush that he had maybe.
Our guy Big Fave texted us the other day. I would make Doug Marrone the interim head coach, Ronald Curry the coordinator, Joe Woods the DC, which he already is. Fire Mickey Loomis, Dennis Allen, and Pete Carmichael clean house. Well, I don't think Loomis is going to fire himself, but well, I mean, I do feel you'd be like there'd be ownership. I think Loomis is going to be untouchable, but I hope he's willing to finally let go of whatever ghostly shadow of that prime era that they've been so desperately trying to cling on to. Like we said on Friday, I think we used this analogy, Jake. This current makeup of the Saints is a bit like Jack floating in the Atlantic Ocean, clinging onto that board, thinking there's still some outside shot he's going to get to sleep with Rose once again, and maybe they'll have a happy life. Nah, son, you freezing to death, okay? You about to sink to the bottom and be lost to time forever.
Yeah.
And so, good on you for fighting and surviving the initial sinking of the boat and doing everything you could to hold on to what you had. But like Rose, it's time to let go.
And that has to happen because in college football, now more so now than ever, but like you can't clean house. You can't overhaul. Like your roster is your roster until you build it through high school recruiting back, obviously years ago. And now you can help out with the transfer portal. But like for me in the NFL, like oftentimes when you see what direction it's going in, and the Saints have seen this direction now for a couple of years, like you decide, okay, well, that window's closed. It's time to really kind of change some things up and have a fresh new look to it. But they just continue to hold on to some of these players and hold on to some of these coaches, more coaches than players probably, even so, because I still think there's something left in the tank for a lot of these players that, is not being utilized. And typically you just don't see that in the NFL. Like you see a team move on when they feel like that window is closed, but the Saints, like they've got like this little twig like in between in the windowsill just holding this thing up, and it is ready to snap, and they just won't give into it. And I just don't understand why, because I mean, you watch these games and it's the same story over and over and over again. It's not like it's just this year. I mean, since Drew Brees left this team, like it's kind of the same story. Since that group, kind of the final pieces of that group left this team, and they're trying to hold on to it.
Once Sean Payton left, and by the way, the Broncos look good now, dude. And like Russell Wilson's resurrected, and screw you, Sean Payton.
6-game winning streak got their start.
I know. Shut up.
I think it's 5 game, right? Is it 6 now?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, 5-game winning streak. They're 6
I liked it better when they were losing like 72-7.
Will Lutz is single-handedly carrying the victories. Adam Troutman had a touchdown.
Adam Troutman did have a touchdown.
Troutman had a touchdown?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of a tight catch, too.
I can't curse. I was just dropped an F-bomb.
I think even the FCC would realize.
But that's the point. Like when Sean Payton left, that was the time. And you said no to Doug Peterson, and you said no to all of these other new minds, and you tried to keep it going, and you kind of got. I mean, look again.
Dude, what's Doug Peterson
I
done? He
agreed-
won
I
a playoff
agreed.
game. He's 8-3 right now with Jacksonville.
I
Other than that.
agreed. Look, I agreed with the logic. So come after me too. But it didn't work. It's over. Daniel Bass says, well, at least Jack got to see Rose naked before dying. What did the Saints have? Well, that's like the Super Bowl and stuff, right? Like you had this hot and torrid affair, and you got it for a lot longer than Jack did, to be fair, right? But you're still holding on just a little too long. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.